Okay, ready?
Good afternoon. Welcome to this regular meeting of the Rehoboth Beach Planning Commission. It's July 24th at 1:30 p.m., maybe a minute or two early. Like for the, call this meeting to order and ask for a roll call vote, please, as to who's here.
Calling today's roll, I'll start with myself, Commissioner Dewey, present, Commissioner Hunter.
Here.
Commissioner Strange,
Here.
Commissioner Stewart,
Here.
Commissioner Davis,
Here.
Commissioner Ellison,
Here.
Commissioner Stockdale,
Here.
Commissioner Gay,
Here.
and Commissioner Bryan.
Here. All right, we have a quorum. I'd like to keep this meeting moving today. I would encourage everyone to be brief and succinct in their questions and answers. And we've got a lot to do and a short time to cover it. And certain members of the commission have things they have to depart for at a certain time later today. So if everyone will work with us, I think we can get through all of this and hopefully dispose of some of these cases as is needed. Ms. Womack, would you verify the meeting notice, please?
The agenda for the planning commission regular meeting was posted in City Hall and on the city portal on July 17th. The agenda was amended and reposted on July 22nd. Public notice for continuation of public hearing of site plan review application number 1221-05, Belhaven Hotel, for the property located at 2 Rehoboth Avenue and 10 Baltimore Avenue, was posted in City Hall and on the city portal on July 1st, 2025. The public notice was published in the Cape Gazette on July 4th and July 8th, and in Delaware State News on July 4th and July 9th. Notifications specific to this project were mailed out to property owners within 200 feet, and the signage was posted on the subject property. Public notice for public hearing of site plan review application number 0624-07 Atlantic Crown Hotel for the property located at 17 Baltimore Avenue was posted in City Hall and on the city portal on July 1st. The public notice was published in the Cape Gazette on July 4th and July 8th, and in Delaware State News on July 4th and July 9th. Notifications specific to this project were mailed out to property owners within 200 feet, and signage was posted on the subject property.
Thank you. Any correspondence?
No.
All right. The first matter before us today is a continuation of the public hearing of site plan review application number 1221-05 Belhaven Hotel. It is a continuation of the public hearing. I see some members of the public here that are here. You're welcome. Glad to have you. Mr. Forsten, do you want to start first? Do you want to go first and tell us what you have or don't have, and then we would like to go to the building inspector, or we can flip it and take the building inspector first?
I almost said, Your Honor. Mr. Chairman, we made our presentation at last month's hearing, and so I view this as a continuation of that hearing. Having made our presentation, public spoke last month, and we were at the questioning stage from questions from the commission. So I would propose that we just pick up from where we ended, and we're here to answer any and all questions you may have, but I don't, as you said, our time is short, and I don't propose to make yet another presentation of the plan.
Good. All right. Mr. Chinko.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Would you go ahead and talk about your latest building inspector letter? What, if anything, issues you see or identify? Something is giving us a feedback.
Yes, sir. My letter is very similar to the one from last month. I did make a few minor amendments to it, but in essence, it remains the same. As far as the bar area goes, we continue to say that the applicants must receive a permit of compliance prior to final approval or as a condition thereof. Regarding the valet stand, while we continue to have concern regarding the hotel parking and valet services as it pertains to the potential impact of vehicles, waiting in travel lanes on Wilmington Avenue for drop-off, check-in, loading and unloading of guests, or using the valet services. This is an issue that the city has regulations to enforce should the valet services negatively impact areas along Wilmington Avenue that the code prohibits. And more precisely, they will need a permit from the city to operate at any time, and they must obey the regulations and requirements that come with that permit.
And what are the penalties if they fail to abide by the terms of that permit?
The city can rescind the permit and
Now, that's
remove
something new
the
from
permit for
last
valet
time. I
services,
believe
and that
we-
comes from Chapter 194.
Yeah, we did not talk about that previously, I don't think. Very good, thank you.
The other one I wanted to talk about was accessibility on the off-site location. We looked at the ADA US Access Board. A specific question was asked about are accessible parking spaces needed in these types of locations? In essence, what the ADA Access Board said was that, and I'm paraphrasing here, but this is so long as the off-site parking does not contain any parking spaces, designated parking spaces for either guests, for the public, or for employees, but used solely for the purpose of storing vehicles by the valet services of the hotel, accessible spaces are not required on off-site. With that said, the applicant has increased the number of accessible parking spaces in the underground level to 6 total spaces with 2 ADA van spaces of the 6, which complies with the code. Continuing on with the loading and unloading of delivery trucks. This again, while B&L continues to have concern that this truck movement will impact the free flow of traffic along Wilmington Avenue, this is an issue that the city has regulations also to enforce should the delivery trucks park in areas along Wilmington Avenue that the code prohibits. The applicant is also informed that failure to abide by the final approved operational details included in the proposed plans, which is the maneuverability of the plans in the applicant's site plan, may result in enforcement actions to enforce the strategies provided to mitigate traffic concerns. One other thing I'd like to point out, as far as the flood damage reduction goes, much debate has been had regarding engineering data, which would demonstrate that the underground parking garage and building foundation would adhere to building standards for structures within the floodplain, demonstrate that the construction of the project would not result in damage to adjacent properties or public infrastructure in the area, and that the proposed design was appropriately engineered and constructible with the inclusion of the 10-foot below-grade structural setback per the BOA, their variance. These issues are taken very seriously and will be examined in close detail by the city as well as third parties during the plan's examining phase. No permit shall be issued until the plans comply with all pertinent requirements. Lastly, there's a small note as far as the city engineer, Public Works previously noted concerns that remain to be addressed. Those concerns, while not detailed in this report, were detailed in the April 24th letter. And if you wish to hear them, I can speak to them today.
Go ahead if you would, please.
Sure. Per the city engineer, Public Works concerns remain unanswered, presumably because they would not be involved until the project moves into construction plan prep. Issues include, but are not limited to, sidewalk restoration to harmonize with streetscape and the pavers in the street, demonstration that roof runoff does not adversely affect the city stormwater collection system, demonstration that the water and wastewater demands do not adversely affect the city utilities, and means for effectively handling solid waste. They made mention of the trash room that may be a little small at 200 square feet.
Now, you've previously gotten some, what I would call preliminary ICC reports, is that
Yes, sir.
correct, on certain limited subjects? Do you expect more robust reports as you enter the construction permit phase?
Absolutely. They'll have a comprehensive report for structural, mechanical, plumbing, electrical, gas, and everything that the IBC covers.
All right, so as I say, these are more in-depth, detailed reports.
This would be a full, comprehensive report, correct, for all things related to the building code.
And in your estimation, you have enforcement mechanisms available if the construction plans don't conform to the code, or if some of the permits that they need to acquire are not obtained or
Yes, sir.
violated if obtained?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're moving more to the enforcement side of this application.
Correct, yeah, there'll be the plans examining phase and then the construction phase.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for them? Oh,
I have a question for Mr. Forsten. So with regard to the Baltimore Avenue parking, is it true that it will be purely valet? You don't anticipate like sending people checking in over there to park themselves?
It will only be valet.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me.
yes, sir.
Would you be, I assume then that you would have no objections to a condition that would require those parking spaces on Baltimore Avenue to be used exclusively for valet parking by hotel staff?
It would be, yeah, we said that, I think we agreed to that at our last hearing, but I know it's been a month. Yeah, it's going to only be valet. You can make that a condition if you want, because if it wasn't only valet, then we'd have to have an ADA spot there, and it would open up a whole other set of issues. It's only going to be valet parking at Baltimore.
And you acknowledge that, excuse me, the city will seek further reports from the ICC on the various topics that Mr. Schinko has talked about?
Well, I'm going to say absolutely, because, I mean, again, we're only at the site plan stage, right? I mean, and so, you know, we have our structural engineer here, but he hasn't done full designs yet because we don't know exactly what the site plan looks like. Once the site plan is approved, then we've got something we can go out and design. But that will be reviewed by the ICC folks, or however you all want to do it. It's going to be done by our professionals, who, this is not their first rodeo. It's going to be reviewed by banks and their lenders and other lenders, because they're not going to loan money unless they're convinced that, you know, everything is structurally sound. We have, sometimes I feel like there's a sense from some that somehow we're going to shirk our responsibilities. This is going to be a well-designed, very, very good structure, and we're not cutting any corners or anything like that. It's going to be peer-reviewed, and actually I think it works out better what Mr. Schinko said last month, or maybe it was 2 months ago, about, you know, sending these plans out to ICC, because they've got specialists in all these areas, and they've got the staff, and so there shouldn't be any sort of bottleneck here at the city, because, you know, you've got so many other things going on as well. Send it out to folks, let them review it. They do it all the time. Get back their comments, we'll respond, but we're going to meet code.
I just have one quick follow-up question for Corey on the parts of this new report, where you said that the engineer, wait a minute. I've got the maneuver. The applicant will abide by the final approved operational details regarding loading and unloading. Those were the drawings showing how the trucks would maneuver on the street, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and those are be part of the record of this, is those plans? Right?
Correct.
Okay. Then the other thing is the Public Works material that you read was interesting, and there was a little bit of a laundry list in there of the things they were concerned about. One of them was the size of the trash room, but there were some others. I guess my general question is there enough flexibility in the plans now, from your perspective, that those things can be fixed?
One of the things that I believe we asked for clarification on several months ago was the area behind the stage, or the ballroom on the second floor. It wasn't clear if that was a corridor or if that was something else, and they labeled that as storage.
Right,
I'm not sure
okay.
what they intend to do, but there's a lot more square footage there to be used that
Okay.
I see as
So
potential.
overall, with those Public Works, there's room in the plans for that to evolve?
It suggests that, yes.
Okay, all right.
And just to follow up on that point, I mean, we have to meet the code requirements. The Public Works concerns, at least as I read the letter and their statement in the previous letter, is they're concerned about things that come once we have a site plan approved. In other words, we still have to meet all these other code requirements. They just get reviewed, they get designed and reviewed after we have a site plan approved. But again, we will meet the code requirements, and nobody should think that we're not trying to.
Go ahead.
I wonder if you could help me complete my thinking on an issue we've talked about in the past, the antenna. Couple quick questions. I think in the past you have said the antenna would be a working antenna, correct?
It has to be under the code, yes.
Okay. Second question is, I don't recall you ever saying exactly what the antenna would be used for. Do you have a particular use in mind?
I do not have a particular use in mind, but the client understands that it must be a working, usable, well, not just usable, but actually being used antenna. And so whether it's, I'll say radio or whether it's cell phone, I don't know, but it has to work. It has to be working or it can't be built.
Okay, thank you. One final question. Would you, we don't have any structures along the boardwalk near that height. I am curious, would you be willing to stipulate to the fact that the height of the antenna shown on the design plans, the final design plans, is the maximum height of the antenna?
Yeah, we're okay with that, aren't we? Yeah, yes.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Strange.
I had a lot of questions, but there's a couple where there are physical material errors in the presentation, where there's conflicting data that represents impossible data. And so those need to be addressed, I think, before it goes forward to the building inspector. The other aspect of it is with regard to, and I was going to ask a question about the building inspector's latest report on page 6, again to the off-site parking, where it says that the ADA, the access board was consulted. And it says if valet parking, quote, if valet parking service is provided on a site without any parking spaces. Now, it sounds silly, but the application is based on having X number of physical parking spaces identified. And the access board says, and I contacted them as well, and they went through a series of things, unfortunately through their AI part of it, and I'm still waiting for a response, but literally, you can't have any physical parking spaces delineated if you want to have valet parking of that nature, which seems absurd. And if you do that, then you don't have to meet any of the other ADA requirements. It's literally considered as a separate entity. So I'm not sure where that goes, quite frankly, but it represents a genuine issue because what's presented, which makes, I think, more sense, but then has conflicts with regard to the code as to what you're supposed to do. That's one issue.
So let me just respond briefly to that. We've had conversations with folks who are specialists in parking. That's why when we were here last month, we didn't have an ADA spot there because
Right.
as the city has now confirmed, but we had already confirmed, when it's just valet parking, nobody is going to need to park in an ADA spot at the offsite. So those are all now on-site. And in fact, I think we have one more handicap spot than the code requires. The off-site spot is going to be for parking. I don't think it matters if they're, I'll say, delineated or not. I mean, there's more
Well,
than
it does.
sufficient
That's the
parking.
silly part.
But no, that's not what we've been told. So, and it sounds like you've only talked to the website AI. I mean, nobody told us, oh, don't mark where the spots are. I mean, that doesn't make sense.
That's what the building inspector is saying. That's why I wanted to ask how they came up with that.
That could just be unfortunate phrasing, but I'm
sorry, what?
That could just be unfortunate phrasing.
If I may, there was one word that I picked up on, which was designated. And like in most codes, it's based off of the user who's using it. And you're right, it doesn't make any sense. You can't park in an area that's not there for parking. You're going to park a vehicle where it's a parking space. So it seems like there's a conundrum there. But how I interpreted it through the ADA board, access board, was that if it's designated for hotel guests or employees as far as a work area is concerned, because there's special stipulations for work areas, then it would be required to meet that. But if it's an area that's not designated for anyone, but rather for a function of just a valet parking, then it's not designated to a specific user. They're there just to remain off-site, to be parked by the valet services and brought back to the hotel. We will check again during the plan review stage, and this will be sent out for ICC. So we'll go through all this again during plans examining stage, but as of right now, that's my current interpretation of how these things are working.
The other, there's some issues which I think are more critical, but there's one technical issue that Mr. Forsten referred to, and the question was asked with regard to the tower and the height it's going to be. And it's unfortunate when Mr. Forsten was presenting to the Board of Adjustment, a question was raised by the Board of Adjustment as to why you had the stealth shingles, and you responded that was required by code. Well, actually, it isn't required by code. It's only required within the code if it is, in fact, a cell tower, a telecommunications cell tower. If it's a cell tower, there are several criteria that has to be met under federal code for that to be that. So there's a conundrum there, which I'm going to defer to the city attorney, our attorney, and to you, Mr. Forsten, but it's problematic. The Board of Adjustment approved something they had no authority to approve, and that's my conundrum that I have to deal with. Because under the cell tower criteria, it's too high, it's too wide, it's too dense. I mean, there's a whole series of things it violates. If the stealth shingles aren't on it, then it's just a regular tower. But the Board of Adjustment explicitly called it out. So I don't know where that ends up going, but it's at this stage, it's problematic. There is, however, some, and although I generated almost 50 questions of concern from an engineering standpoint, there are material errors in the current plan where you describe things and give a certain dimension to it, and then you conflict it on another page with a different dimension, and they don't match at all, and they become non-code compliant. In particular, the drawings with regard to the actual building on the access to the truck site is 11.5 feet. Yet in another drawing where they show how the trucks are going to enter and go and back, they provide a drawing that indicates what the height of the trucks will be, and it's 13 feet. You can't put a 13-foot high truck through an 11.5-foot access door. Physically impossible. Also in the dimensions, for example, when you show the truck that you specify, it ends up encroaching onto the sidewalk by about 5 feet, which violates another code that can't be met. So my concern is, how do we approve something that is already non-code compliant to go to the next stage when the drawings indicate it's defective? I guess I pose that to both attorneys as to what do we do? I mean, it seems like it would set a bad precedent when you approve something that's knowingly doesn't meet code out of the box on simple things.
So let me see, I'll take the first crack at answering if that's okay, Bill. I don't know exactly what you're referring to. We had a public hearing 2 months ago. You gave us a list of questions. We submitted written responses to those questions. Now it seems you've got more questions and issues. I thought last month we talked about if you had any questions, you get them to us in advance. So it's hard for me to respond. And I mean, this has been reviewed by the ICC folks and by the building inspector, and so you seem to be pointing out things that they've missed, which no one, we're all human, and so sometimes things get missed. But I don't know how to address these things when they're coming up at 1:40 on the day of the public hearing.
Well, I can address that. What you just referred to was inaccurate. The plans that we reviewed were not in our possession. The plans that we reviewed now, we just got last week. And they were materially different than the plans that we reviewed a month and 2 months ago. They literally were not the same. Literally, physically.
I've got the architect here who I think will disagree with that.
I can't, the prints, they are what they are.
I understand.
You've submitted new drawings on the drawings, which didn't exist on the previous set of drawings. Oh. I'm not trying to be argumentative, but the plans that you just referred to last month that we were looking at, the plans we had received several weeks before. At that meeting, you presented a piece of paper. Let me see if I can find it. which had a date on it. The city received it on June 26th. That's the first time I'd ever seen this drawing. That drawing was then incorporated onto the current plans that were submitted to the city 2 weeks ago, and I requested.
Look, let me say that the drawings you're now pointing to were an answer to your questions about how to possibly engineer the solution that you were asking construction-specific questions about how something would be engineered. We submitted drawings in response to that to show you that it could be done. But today, with respect, we're here for a site plan approval. And so to the extent you're talking about possible hypothetical construction drawings that were submitted, I don't think it's fair to complain about the actual construction examples that were submitted.
Mr. Larson.
Here's the site plan that you just submitted, the follow-on. All these plans are in here as a site plan.
Mike, I need you closer to the microphone.
All of the plans I just alluded to were added to this plan. The previous set of plans that we reviewed didn't have any of this. And in there, it incorporated things that are physically impossible. It's not a question of construction, it's a question of the site plan. It's dated, it's a new site plan, it has new data, different entities, and we're obliged to review the latest site plan. The site plan has this in it. I can't not pretend it's not there because it is physically there. And the dimensions are different. You provided dimensions for trucks
That's,
that are different.
as a possible resolution, let us take a 5-minute break. Mr. Strange, if you can discuss this with Mr. Forsten, you guys, I'm sure, can come to some resolution of it, and we can keep moving. Is that okay? Let's adjourn for 5 minutes
Thank
to
you, Mr.
discuss the issues.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, to the extent there are inconsistencies, and Mr. Strange pointed out that the one drawing shows the door only being 11 and a half feet, but the trucks are 12 feet. I mean, the proposed trucks shown on the example are 12 feet. We will make the door height large enough to make the drawings consistent.
And you will make the drawings code compliant?
Absolutely. They will always be code compliant.
Okay, good. We are back in session. Mr. Larson.
Mr. Forsten, in the prior notice of decision of this body, there were several letters, pieces of correspondence, submissions noted in that were part of the prior record. Would you agree that's part of this record as well?
Yeah, to the extent that the prior conditions incorporated things from letters, certainly. I mean, I submitted the conditions and said that except for the ones that were resolved by the Board of Adjustment, we assume that you will continue to have the rest of those conditions apply.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
If any of those letters are I have to admit, I haven't gone back through and looked at them all with a magnifying glass, but if any of those letters are inconsistent with something that you all have asked to be changed, like now we're having only valet off-site parking, I assume that, we're not going to have the letter say one thing and the plan show a different thing.
Right, I just mean in terms of establishing the record that
Yes.
we're relying on.
Yes.
We can agree that there may be updates along the way, but we can rely on that full record from the prior hearing
Absolutely.
and this hearing.
Yep.
All right, would you take a moment to explain to everyone your most recent submission and delineate between the site plan submission and some of the construction drawings and try to help us understand the differences and some of the confusion that may have arisen?
I'm going to phone a friend. Peter, you want to come up here for a second? Peter, you made some additions after the last meeting to the plan. Do you just want to kind of explain what those additions are briefly?
We
You're
didn't
Peter
make any-
Falat?
Hi, Peter Falat, Falat Architecture, Pasadena, Maryland. The documents that were submitted on 7/8 were just changed the date of 7/8 from the 6/24 set, which was submitted a few days before the last planning commission. We have made no changes to the documents, okay? However, prior to that, there was a set of documents that was sent in, I believe they're dated 6/11, and the changes there were we added a turning diagram that showed how a 52-foot truck or a 53-foot truck, I'm not exactly, what does it say, 52?
I thought it was 30.
We had designed it to 30, but there were a lot of questions about having a 52-foot truck. And against my client's wishes, I showed you how a 52-foot truck would fit in the lot, in the space. And it does, right? So, right? For if and when that ever happens, hopefully never will, it never will. That was a change that was made. I believe that,
Can I stop you for one?
Yes.
I thought, I asked last time if you would agree, because you said, we're only going to use 30-foot trucks. So
Right.
none of this matters.
Right.
And I said, well, would you agree that, will you accept that as a condition? And you, Mr. Forsten looked at you and you all said yes. So now you're telling me,
no,
okay,
we accept that as a
We're
condition.
happy- you're happy
No
with 30
problem.
feet.
No
Okay.
problem. But for some reason, if somebody didn't know the condition that was set, and they backed a 52-foot truck into this lot,
They gotta
well,
go.
one thing's for sure, they gotta go, but they gotta be, if they can get in there, at least they haven't damaged anybody, killed anyone, created any public nuisance, they would fit, right? We have to get them to leave right away, but,
knock wood.
knock wood. Right? Oh, yeah, and then the other two things, we added the drawings that showed how the tiebacks would work and the cantilevering slab in the 10-foot setback, cantilevering the 10-foot ground floor slab, well, how that would work with the setback. And what else? I think that's pretty much it. There may be something, but it's not major.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other member of the commission? All right, yes, sir, Mr. Ellison.
Yeah, I have what I guess is sort of a minor issue, but I think it could be important. And it really has to do with Baltimore Avenue. We haven't spent a lot of time there other than trying to figure out if the parking lot works and all of that. But there's been something in the drawings all the way through, and I kept hoping that it might change. We have a responsibility here to address things that might affect the neighboring properties as well as the streetscape. And what we have is a situation that I consider bad enough, that we have a prime 100-foot piece of property on one of our absolutely prime commercial streets that has to now be a parking lot. What exacerbates that is the fact that Mr. Follott has shown a cheap plastic white fence that is the demarcation point, trying to hide, I guess, the cars, I'm not sure. But that to me is like, putting salt on the wound. And I would hope that Mr. Follott and the team would agree to a condition that, in fact, some time be spent on that fence and the whole proposition of what those who pass by encounter, so that it can be something that we can really be proud of rather than a cheap white plastic fence. Something that would really effectively, hopefully, deter people from looking beyond to see the cars, something that really is well designed, and I would hope you would agree to that as a condition.
So, in theory, I'm all about nice architecture. I mean, that's the whole point of this project, right? Mr. Papajohn grew up in the Belhaven as a child, and he still has wonderful stories he'll tell you about World War II and looking for U-boats. So I'm not objecting to a requirement for something more than cheap white plastic. I agree with that. But, I mean, what do you have in mind? At the same time, I'm not sure we want to build a Taj Mahal. So I'm just curious what you mean when you say do something more. I want to get a handle on what you're asking for.
I'm sure that there could be, something that's better designed, and that's all I'm asking for. I'm not going to try to design it for you.
Well,
It's
I mean,
just that
do you want it to be like wood? Do you want it to be
I'm not going to
masonry?
design it for you.
Okay.
I would leave that.
So something other than white plastic?
Yes.
Okay, well, we
And I
certainly will
would
commit to
also
that.
consider, there are little triangles that might be planted. I just don't think adequate attention has been given to that.
Peter, do you want to add anything?
So it's not a cheap white plastic fence.
Sure
This
looks
is what it is. It's an image of what we would use as a model. It shows you, what we're trying to show you is that it's a high-quality, maintenance-free, visually opaque. In other words, you cannot see any vehicles from one side of this fence to the other. It is a long-lasting, it will always look like that. I'm sure several people in this room have this fence in their backyard. Okay, so I get it. I'm an architect, you're an architect. Our levels of quality are somewhat higher than others, but I thought this was a good place to start in terms of the enclosure of this parking lot. We would be happy to make it better, and we're happy to show you, as a condition of this, the final design and scrutinize it as much as you'd like.
I would like that. I might note that that's a very misleading picture, because what's the height of the fence? 3.5 feet?
I think it's by code, it has to be 42 inches. Right.
Can it
That's
be higher
probably
than
a
that?
5-inch, that's probably a 60-inch fence shown.
Right.
Can it be higher than 3.5 feet?
It can be, it could be this high.
Can it be?
Right, because, obviously, everybody can see over a fence who's
Right, which
of any
is-
height at
which
all.
some people would consider that maybe an advantage, so you could see into the lot and see people doing bad things, or you could see out of the lot and be able to wave your hand and say, if something bad is happening to me, help, but we'll do it any height you want.
I'm not going to
requirement
design it for you,
was
but
to do
I just
this.
think you ought to consider
Oh, we will.
something
Absolutely, it's our pleasure.
that has some style and some design.
Along
Thank you.
those same lines, Jim, I noticed from this photograph, there seems to be a tree next to that fence. And wouldn't it be great if, in addition to the fence, there was a line of trees there? But I'm not sure you have the room for that.
No, there is not room for.
There's actually a little triangular, because of the angled spaces, we can try to stick some landscape.
Please do. I mean, the more green we have here, the better.
And David has a landscape plan on the civil drawings where they show a tree in front of it, and it's a little more landscaping
Okay.
than what's on the architecture.
Great.
Anyone else?
Just one other question in terms of code compliance, which is simple and straightforward, which may be a condition. And Corey, maybe I misread the code, but the actual curb cuts that currently are shown on the plan exceed what's allowed under our code. They're both 20 feet each, and you're limited to 20-some feet, period, 10 foot in, 10 foot out. Did I misinterpret the code?
Well, that section falls under Chapter 232. Each curb cut can be a maximum of 20 feet with 18-inch flare-outs. That's not a zoning code, so I would speak with the Director of Public Works about that.
Okay.
But that's what that chapter gives us the maximum, a minimum of 10 feet, a maximum of 20 feet with
Right, and there's
18-inch
two of them,
flare-outs.
so that's 40 feet. And I mean, the code calls about trying to minimize the impact on public parking. I mean, once you're across the sidewalk and into the lot, I mean, that's totally legitimate because that's required by code in terms of the width. But my question was the entranceway that's on the public property, and it seemed like it didn't meet the code.
Yeah, that's something that we'll work with Public Works on during that time.
All right.
Julie has a question.
I have a
Yes,
question.
Ms. Davis.
At our last meeting, we discussed and reviewed the fact that our prior proceedings, we had conditions relating to, requiring that prior to the issue of a building permit, the city engage independent qualified structural, geotechnical, and floodplain engineers to work with the building inspector on those issues. The question that came up from the public at our last meeting was and now, of course, we've added the ICC into the mix in terms of reviewing plans and conditions prior to the issuance of a building permit. But the question came up in addition as to how the public, including members of the Planning Commission for that matter, would know when those construction drawings were submitted, when those experts were evaluating the drawings, what their reports said. Unlike and I'm not being critical, but unlike the Planning Commission proceedings, which are all in public, that whole process with respect to review of construction drawings and issuance of a building permit is not required, at least by code, to be public. So the question came up as to whether or not there should be notification that those drawings have been submitted and that the experts are now reviewing them and presumably being able to review, the public being able to review the reports of the experts prior to the issue of building permits. And that seems to me to be a loose end that we haven't resolved, but I think it's something we should talk about and come to some sort of a resolution of. And I would first, I guess, direct my questions obviously to the applicant, but also to Corey in terms of notification of the various stages, because this is a huge project that's going to affect the city for decades to come. It's complicated, and there's a lot of interest, and not just the adjacent property owners, but I think, the public as a whole should have some awareness, some notice that all of this is going on with respect to the construction stage and the construction planning stage. So I'm putting that on the table.
Ms. Ogden, couldn't the building inspector simply include an updated report each month on the status of something like that?
Well, I think what I would address is that we do agree that these documents are fundamentally important and that the public.
And they are public documents.
They are public documents. And so our goal would be to make them public, make them available on the city's website in a document center so that all documents related to this particular project are made available.
Well, the problem with to me personally, making them available on the city website, which I think obviously could and should and I assume would be done, but you have to know when to look and where to look. And with all due respect, not everybody is conversant, can navigate the city website with the same ease that other people can. But as I say, I'm talking about notice, not posting, but notice that these documents have been filed so that you know to look at the city website.
Well, at the moment, I can't commit to what the city can do, but we will commit to work with the Planning Commission to make sure that the information is then made available, notice given to you that documents have been filed with the city.
Well, what I'd like to see is a condition to this, because I think it's important, and I'm afraid, I just don't want this issue to fall through the cracks, and that there be conditions included in presumably our approval.
I have
that
no
would
objection
require
to that.
notice.
I have no objection to that except for two things. First off, if you're going to do it to us, do it to every other single project and make it a condition on everybody going forward. And second of all, I will say, well, three things. No individual notice to individual property owners. That gets to be an administrative burden that I don't think is worth it. The price of liberty is eternal vigilance. And if you're concerned about a neighbor's project, check the website once a week. Things don't move faster than that. And if you check it just once a week, you'll find it. And third, at some point, and I think, you know, Mr. Schenko is to be commended here for setting up the ICC review process, because I think it's going to really redound to the city's benefit. You're going to have real professionals who have the time and the specialization to review these plans. And we've already committed. We committed before, and we still are committed to having these other independent experts review our plans. So I hope that gives you and the commissioners and the city the confidence it needs. We're not just building something slapdash here. This is going to be thoroughly engineered, thoroughly reviewed, and you know, we're obviously, it's our pride and joy. It's Mr. Papajohn's pride and joy. So we're going to do this right. But I would ask that we have some confidence in the city and the professionals that the city is going to hire to do the right thing. If we want to post something on, you know, like you've done on other projects, you know, when new submissions are made, sure, but not every single, you know, if I write a letter to Lisa saying, oh, by the way, X, Y, Z, you know, I mean, you're not going to put the whole correspondence file online. That would, again, I think, be too burdensome for the
I
city.
think you know, Mr. Forsten, that that's not what I'm speaking about. I'm talking about construction drawings and the reports of these experts.
Well, I think the reports should be posted online. I think that's what the city just committed to. I don't have, you know, they are what they are, and we're not trying to hide anything.
I don't think it's a question of trying to hide anything, Mr. Forsten, and I would go back to your first point, which is we are, you know, this planning commission in the last few years has engaged multiple times with projects that are much more complex than the sort of typical project that may have come before it, even though we only deal with commercial projects. And your project is one of the most complex, but it's not the only one that's complex. And so when we vote to put conditions on an approval, I think implicit in that is, you know, is that there will be a report back. And I assume that the reports back will all be, you know, check off the box. But to go to your first point, it would not be directed solely at you. You might be the first one, you know, sort of in this process. But if we put this kind of condition on in terms of expert reports, then of course it would apply to every project.
And it shouldn't there's nothing like being the guinea pig, right? There's nothing like being the oldest child.
If we're all agreeing on having these reports done, and I think the reports are very important to the public. I mean, you're building next to the ocean practically in terms of how people experience the town. You're building next to the boardwalk, and so there's a massive amount of public concern about this, and specifically. I don't want to diminish the importance of some of the, you know, decorative or whatever aspects of it, but especially the structural aspects.
Now, look, Put whatever you want online, the reports that come in, the construction plans when they get submitted, they're public documents. And so whatever is easiest for the public to access. I just don't want to create some sort of new extra process. That's my only concern. But posting documents online, making the public, so the public can access them if they want, that's perfectly fine. We're going to have good drawings. They're going to be reviewed by third-party independent experts and peers. And they're going to come back to us, and we're going to have a project that this city is going to be proud of for the next 50 years or more.
So I think there's two issues here for the Planning Commission to consider. In terms of conditions, we should be looking more towards conditions on the applicant. And then this wouldn't really be a condition on the applicant. This would be more something we'd be seeking from the city. And the city has already indicated a willingness to work to put these things online. I have some experience with that, and there's methods to do that, and it sounds like the city is very interested in doing it. There are some logistics, and you have to make sure you have the right software and get everything talking to each other. But I think they're on their way doing that, and I think the commission could certainly, seek. The building inspector gives monthly reports, so it's something he could address in those monthly reports. But it's probably something that should be handled outside the conditions because it's more city directed rather than applicant directed.
Well, how about a condition that requires the city to notify when either construction drawings or expert reports are posted, to notify the Planning Commission and the adjacent property owners?
So I think that's a request we can make to the city. I think the decision or the ruling, the conditions are conditions on the applicant and their project.
But we've got conditions. The conditions about hiring these experts are conditions that are put on the city to do.
Right, and I would suggest that with respect to that, that is something that we can request of the city, and the city.
But we can't request notice?
You can make those requests of the city, but they are not, I think, conditions that the applicant has to, that the applicant is responsible for.
I'm not talking about the applicant being responsible to provide the notice. I'm talking about the city, which is already responsible to hire these experts, at the same time notifying the Planning Commission and the adjacent property owners that these construction drawings have been submitted and that the city is, Corey presumably in this case, it's notice to the Planning Commission, it's notice to the adjacent property owners.
I think you can make
and
those
that
requests.
doesn't seem to me terribly burdensome or unreasonable.
I think you can make those requests of the city, and it'll be up to the city to respond to them and follow through.
I'm sorry, but I disagree with you.
Okay. All right.
Mike, are we taking public comment today?
Yes. Yep. Getting ready to.
Good.
See a lot of people here from the public. Welcome. Please come forward, state your name, and let us know your thoughts within 3 minutes, please.
Who's got the timer? Get the timer on. Do you have it?
Oh, she's already disconnected.
Oh, he's timing it on his phone. I don't know how to do it.
Well, I'm waiting till he gets his presentation.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me drop this down. Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission, again, my name is Dr. Michael Treos. I'm a co-owner of the properties located at 7 through 15 South Boardwalk and 1 Wilmington Avenue. Let me begin by reiterating that I am not opposed to the redevelopment of my neighbors' properties into the Belhaven Hotel, as I believe this project has the potential to be a valuable addition to the city of Rehoboth Beach. However, I continue to have serious and unresolved concerns regarding the current proposal, which specifically relates to the risk it poses to the underlying sandy soils and the structural integrity of my properties and to the city's sidewalks, roadways along Wilmington Avenue. Since this project was introduced over 6 years ago in April of 2019, I've consistently expressed willingness both publicly and privately, to meet collaboratively with the applicant. My goal has always been to proactively address any concerns so that the applicant can successfully construct the underground garage without endangering our properties. Unfortunately, despite my repeated efforts, both the applicant and the applicant's engineering team has never reached out to speak to us with regard to that. So I'm going to proceed forward. So what I am requesting, and as Commissioner Davis was just stating, is that conditions E and F are both conditions that were posed to the city, not to the applicant. And as such, I would like to request an amendment to condition E with the second paragraph, which reads as follows. The Building and Licensing Department shall notify adjacent property owners within 72 hours of receiving any proposed design or construction drawings. Adjacent property owners shall have the opportunity to request electronic copies of such drawings through a FOIA request. Upon receipt, they may review the drawings and directly communicate any observations or concerns regarding potential impacts to their properties with the independent structural and geotechnical engineer, as well as the Building and Licensing Department. Additionally, a similar paragraph for condition F would be included, but the last the last sentence would basically state that it would be with regard to the independent floodplain expert. So I would request that these conditions, these amendments to these conditions be added. That's item 1. Item 2, I have 2 questions which I'd like to pose to the commission here. Question 1, as a participant in the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, the City of Rehoboth Beach is required to enforce its floodplain ordinance, which mandates that the lowest finished floor of new structures be elevated at least 1 foot above the base flood elevation associated with a 100-year event. In a FEMA-designated AE zone with FEMA-designated elevation of 12 feet, the presence of an underground parking garage may conflict with this requirement, especially if the local groundwater table is as close as 8 feet below grade. Although the mapped design elevation is 12 feet, based on decades-old data, FEMA may interpret the actual flood risk to be higher, such as an AE8, based on the presented core drilling results. This could require the project comply with design and code standards applicable to an AE8 zone. Given these concerns, should the city directly consult with FEMA in addition to consulting an independent qualified floodplain expert to determine whether the higher groundwater conditions require the application of an AE zone requirements to this project? Additionally, should FEMA require the application of an AE8 zone requirements given the results of core drillings, would not the applicant then be required to obtain a variance from the Board of Adjustment under Section 159, flood damage reduction of the city code to construct the 12-foot underground parking garage?
Please wind up, Dr. Trejo. Please wind up, sir.
Oh, yes, I would. So with regard, and the explanation is there. Then question 2 is simply this. Given the proposed Belhaven project's plans for a 12-foot underground parking garage on the site where core drillings indicate a depth of at least close as 8 feet, and considering the sandy soils prevalent in Rehoboth Beach that give heightened risk of soil liquefaction, subsidence, and potential damage to adjacent properties in the city sidewalk and roadways during construction, should the City of Rehoboth Beach require property owner developers to post a surety bond, otherwise known as a performance bond or completion bond, so that if at any time there should be an unforeseen encounter with regard to delays or challenges, that the project or the area of which the project is being constructed could be dealt with? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, please. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. Ms. Blythe? Is your microphone on?
Hi, I'm Alison. Yeah, hi, I'm Alison. I'm the owner of Go Fish Restaurant, and I'm the other adjacent property owner to Dr. Trejo. So, not going to repeat what he just said, but obviously I'm bundled in with that and wish to be included with any and all communication and how that's going to be going forward. I mean, for instance, that just the asbestos buildings around us, how is that? How am I going to know when they're coming down and how that's going to impact me and how that's going to be done? That's just one thing. But also, too, when it comes to the delivery, I just have a quick question. All the retailers that are going to be included in this new project, I assume they're going to get deliveries by the delivery ramp, all those little independent boutiques, restaurants, what have you. And often I get daily deliveries for just my tiny thing. I don't see any retailer demanding to have a 30-foot truck to deliver, maybe a small something that they need. What these delivery trucks do is they stack them up, and then they have a schedule. It's quite simple, and they drop off here, drop off there, and that's how it goes. So you can't, determine when you're going to get your delivery, but that's how they do it. It's not cost effective to send a 30-foot truck out for, unless it's full. So, I mean, unless they're going to insist, and if I was signing a lease, I have to have a 30-foot truck bring my stuff to me, that's a little bit absurd. So I don't know how that's going to operate. And for me, I can tell you every single one of my deliveries this summer have come off a 52-foot truck, period. That's how it is.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else? Yes, sir. Oh. She's closer to the microphone. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, hello. I'm Diane Crom, and I'm an owner in the Tidewater House, which is at 23 Maryland Avenue. So we will have, I guess, some visibility with the new hotel that's going in on Baltimore. And my question is, we have noticed that the Atlantic Sands has a very loud HVAC system or some sort of air handler on the top. My question is, I'm really concerned about the noise level of the new hotel, since it'll be almost directly across from us. I'm concerned about that because the Tidewater faces that area, and there's 5 floors. We'll all be hearing that on our balconies on the front, and also the visibility of what we're going to be looking at. Right now, we do have some visibility for the ocean, especially as you get higher in the building. And we're here at the beach. We'd hate to lose that. So that is one of my concerns too, is as this new building goes up, how is that going to impact our visual field? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir. Thank you for your kindness.
Okay, I was nervous anyway. My name is Ben Seidel. I'm a principal with Stonebridge Hospitality. Recently, I was the founder and owner of Real Hospitality Group when I came here 4 years ago to address you guys on the development of this project. I'm not a contractor, but I do feel that I have a little skin in the game where we consulted with the Papajohn family since the day this was conceived now 7 years ago. We've never sent a bill, and I've never gotten a dime from this project because we did it out of the fact that we agreed and believed in the project and believed it in Rehoboth Beach. I'm from here originally. I live in Ocean City. I'm part of the 13th largest hospitality consulting and operating firms in the United States today. We have offices on Wall Street, out in Denver, Colorado, and of course here in Ocean City, Maryland. 188 hotels. This project kind of piggybacks where we worked with just outside the city at the Residence Inn, Rehoboth, the Fairfield Rehoboth, and the Holiday Inn Express Rehoboth that we were involved in the operation and the planning of those. We also did the Bethany Beach Ocean Suites Hotel and Suites, and that too was a bit adversarial at the beginning between the city and the developer. And what we did was just simply advocate for the fact that it was a rising tide that would raise all ships. And it was a home run. And now we've gone from a situation like I observed here over the last 3 years to one that is very, very much an established partnership with the economic community and the Chamber of Commerce and all business owners because of the way that that hotel just changed from the King of Arms Way, if you remember that dump, to what it is now. And it's raised pricing, it's raised economic activity, and it's raised value of everybody's real estate around. I'm not a contractor, so I don't understand water and parking in 12 feet versus 8 feet in FEMA. But what I will say is that I've participated in off and on with meetings for the last 6 years with probably some of the best consultants in the United States on this because of the integrity and the sophistication of this project. And it seems to me, and I'm not a contractor, every I gets dotted 4 times, every T gets crossed 6 times. We deliberate, we meet, it's been inundating. And no offense to anybody in this room, but coming here, it seems so adversarial between some of the comments here and some of the responses back that I just want to say that's regrettable. And if you could just look at satisfying the geo and the construction and code, what this is going to do for the Boardwalk of Rehoboth, I can tell you Bethany, Fenwick, Ocean City are all looking at what you guys are doing, and they're getting a little scared of this because it's going to have an impact on those communities because of what Rehoboth is. I want to tell you that Rehoboth is one of my favorite places in town, having been here since birth, and just would be proud to be part of such a project. So I don't know if my words had any impact at all, but after listening today, everybody's better people than what it seems like today. I just wanted to convey that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I think we've just been
Do we
scolded.
have anyone else? Yes, sir?
Do you want to take comments on the Atlantic Crown now?
Not yet, sir. It's next on the agenda. Yes, sir. We'll save a spot for you. Next, anybody else? All right, I close the public hearing to this. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
Is there a motion?
Perhaps there can be a motion.
Oh, God, you're going to
Okay,
read that
we-
whole thing.
I was going to say, I encourage everybody to settle in, get comfortable. It takes a while to go through this.
Can I?
Go ahead. Haven't read anything yet.
I'd like to move, I'd like to move that we don't read all that legalese as part of our motion.
I would refer to our
Yeah, I have
council.
to
for that.
City council, do we have to do this? I mean, I've expressed concern about this manner of approaching approvals before.
Some of them are shorter than others.
I mean, I'd like to move that we consider approving this project. I've been convinced along the years that I've been here that there are a lot of things that happen in the construction phase that aren't appropriately part of the site plan phase. I am concerned about a building that, I don't know where we are, 62 feet against a 50-foot height thing, but that's a Board of Adjustment decision. I'm concerned about a hotel that's 50% greater in size than our code allows, but that's a Board of Adjustment decision. We're bound by that. But I think I'm comfortable that the site plan, that we've considered the things we need to, and that we should consider approving this site plan.
My concern is that if this were to be appealed, it's an appeal on the record. And I think what's in the motion is part of the record and an important part. I doubt seriously Mr. Forsten would waive his right of appeal, but I would encourage him to consider that.
Like all good answers you've heard me say many times, it depends. I have to see how you all vote. But in order to make
Yes,
the
sir.
motion a little easier, I could suggest perhaps that the motion incorporate all of the previous conditions from your approval last August, except for the ones relating to the Board of Adjustment, so that you don't have to read all of those ones verbatim again. And then to the extent there are new conditions, and I suspect there may be 1 or 2 additional conditions, you certainly should read those conditions into the record. But I think you can incorporate the ones from last August without having to
I think we might I think it will take less time for her to read it than for us to discuss it.
However you want to do it. I'm just
Okay.
trying to be helpful.
Julie has a question.
Yes, ma'am.
This is, I guess this is a question. Apparently, this is going to be a long motion with conditions, some of which may be new, some of which may be that we approved the last time we went through this. But I was just speaking for myself. I haven't seen the motion, reviewed the motion, seen what the conditions are. There's some conditions that I would like to at least consider inserting into the motion or into the proceeding, but I haven't seen it and I don't know what's there and what isn't there. In the past, we have gotten in advance of these meetings, when it was pretty apparent that a motion might be made, the commission members have gotten a copy of the motion and the conditions ahead of time to review and consider and analyze.
Let's adjourn for 10 minutes. We'll read the motion. It'll discuss, I mean, we won't act in,
Do we have copies of the motion?
yeah, we can send it to you, but it's electronic. If we take a 10-minute break, we'll try and circulate that motion and come back and vote.
Are they all?
See you. All right.
Are we on?
I'd like to be done by sundown. And we won't get there if we don't get started. So is there a motion?
Yeah,
I believe there was a motion to approve. Is
yes.
that correct?
I moved to approve, and it wasn't seconded, so
Okay.
I don't
Is there
know.
a second?
What are we doing here?
I think you want to make a friendly amendment to read those 2 pages of fine print.
Yeah, I'm the one who drew the short straw to read the 2 pages, but anyway, go ahead. I second the motion to approve it.
All right. We have a motion and a second.
Okay, and
Would you
then I
like to
have an
read that
amendment.
motion?
Yes, okay. I move to approve the site plan application 122105 Belhaven Hotel, subject to the following conditions. Prior to the issuance of any building permit for the proposed project, applicant should obtain all necessary permits and approvals under applicable federal, state, county, and city laws, including but not limited to federal law approvals would be any applicable federal or international building laws or regulations, any applicable federal ADA requirements, any applicable federal stormwater runoff point source regulations, any applicable FEMA laws and regulations, design standards, any encroachment of the applicable building line, and a sufficient number of emergency exits for the underground parking garage. Additional approvals under state law would be applicable state building laws and regulations, any state stormwater runoff or point source discharge laws, any DNREC approval required, any additional state fire marshal approvals or conditions required, the maximum safe number of inhabitants per hotel room, the installation of a second fire department connection, and a second lockbox as specified in the fire marshal letter dated April 17th, 2023, at the locations to be agreed upon by the state fire marshal and the chief of the Rehoboth Beach Volunteer Fire Company, per the terms of the letter. The use of batteries in connection with the proposed solar panels on the roof of the proposed structure, a sufficient number of emergency exits for the underground parking garage, any DELDOT approval regarding the project's impact on vehicular or pedestrian traffic, any additional preliminary land use service, that's plus review and approvals by the Office of State Planning Coordination, and any access or easement agreements with neighboring property owners or the city that may be required in connection with designing, surveying, constructing, stabilizing, maintaining, repairing, modifying, or using the proposed structure, and any access or easement agreements with neighboring property owners that may be required in conjunction. That was duplicated. I just almost read the same words twice. Not my fault. Additional approvals under county law, approval from the Sussex County Conservation District regarding stormwater management. Additional approvals under city law, City Code Chapter 102, building construction, a license from the city for the proposed awning encroaching over public property pursuant to City Code Chapter 102, Article 19, City Code Chapter 159, flood damage reduction, City Code Chapter 215, restaurants, City Code Chapter 220, sewer and water, City Code Chapter 206, pools, City Code Chapter 253, trees, City Code Chapter 270, Article 7, signs, City Code Chapter 232, streets and sidewalks, including specifically 232, 43, 44, 45, 46, and 47, and any access or easement agreements with neighboring properties. Number 2, those were all the additional approvals under federal, state, county, and city law. Number 2, city consultants. The city shall retain an independent, qualified structural and geotechnical engineer to assist the building inspector in reviewing all proposed design and construction drawings for compliance with applicable building codes. The city shall retain, the city shall retain an independent qualified floodplain expert to assist the city's floodplain administrator in reviewing all proposed designs and construction drawings for consistency with all applicable requirements for constructing the proposed structure at this location, including the AO and AE flood zones. Number 3, pursuant to the Journal of the National Academy of Forensic Engineers as provided to the applicant by the building inspector, applicant shall ensure delivery trucks are able to maneuver into the off-site loading deck with sufficient space to enter and exit the area. 4, lot consolidation. Prior to the issuance of any building permit for the proposed project, applicant shall submit an appropriate application and obtain approval from the Rehoboth Beach Planning Commission to consolidate the lots as may be necessary pursuant to City Code Chapter 236. Valet parking. Applicant shall comply with City Code Chapter 194 with respect to all valet parking requirements. Number 6, management of motor vehicle entrance as to loading and unloading berth and the trash room. The motor vehicle entrance to the proposed loading and unloading berth and trash room shall be actively managed, including by way of a signed, enforceable master loading dock management schedule agreement approved by the City of Rehoboth Beach and applicable to deliveries, pickups from the hotel and commercial spaces to assure that delivery and/or waste management vehicles will not protrude onto the sidewalk, will not park on Wilmington Avenue or adjacent streets while awaiting access to the loading berth, or will not otherwise negatively impact pedestrian safety or vehicular traffic or parking. Further, in the interest of public safety, delivery vehicles using the loading and unloading berth may not be longer than 30 feet. Number 7, drop-off area. Prior to the issuance of a building permit for the proposed project, or if not possible prior to the issuance of the building permit, then as soon thereafter as is reasonably practicable, applicant shall obtain approval from the City of Rehoboth Beach with regard to any laying out, alteration, relocation, abandonment, or discontinuance of any portion of the public way resulting from or related to the project's proposed drop-off zone on Wilmington Avenue for arriving and departing hotel patrons as depicted in the drawings. Number 8, storage of refuse. To the extent refuse containers are placed outside the proposed structure, including for trash pickup, as a condition of this approval, such refuse containers shall be screened as per City Code 27027. Number 9, electric. Provided by the Delmarva Power, development must comply with all applicable regulations and policies within the building code and construction requirements of Delmarva Power. And finally, 10, telecommunications. Provided by Verizon, Comcast, and AT&T, development must comply with all applicable regulations and policies within the building code and construction requirements of the appropriate provider.
All right, you've heard the motion. Need a vote, please, to approve what?
No, we need a second, first of all.
No, we just had a second, but okay.
Or did you?
Second?
I didn't hear it.
Yeah, I'm not seconding. I'd like to propose an additional condition.
Well, let's
Get
get
a
through.
vote on the amendments, then we can take additional amendments, and then vote on the entire motion as amended.
Yep. All right, I want to keep this straight. We have a second on this set of conditions that Commissioner Gage just read, correct? Is there any discussion about that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, that amendment
call at the end,
passes.
right?
We'll do a roll call at the end.
Excuse me, Chair. I
Yes.
abstain.
All right, sir, thank you. Are there any other proposed amendments to this motion? Ms. Davis?
Based on the discussion this afternoon concerning the
Microphone, Julie, put that close. Yeah.
based on the discussion this afternoon concerning the off-site parking spaces or parking lot on Baltimore Avenue, I would like to propose a condition that would state the off-site parking spaces on the property located on Baltimore Avenue shall be used exclusively for storage of vehicles belonging to hotel guests that have been parked by hotel staff in conjunction with the hotel's valet parking services.
Any discussion about that?
My understanding is that the
there a second
applicant does
to
not
that
object to this.
I'm sorry?
I say understand that the applicant would not object to this condition.
All right. We have a proposed amendment. Is there a second? Second. We have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
All those opposed? This amendment passes. Any other amendments? Yes, Mr. Moore. Yes, sir, Mr. Ellison.
I would like a condition that the applicant is required to submit to the Planning Commission for approval a final detailed design for fencing and landscaping associated with the applicant's parking lot property on Baltimore Avenue.
Is there a second to that proposed amendment?
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Nay.
You're coming up.
Okay.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
No.
Abstain.
You gonna roll call this one?
Yeah, let's roll call this one. Mr. Dewey.
Okay, this roll call is regarding the request that a condition be placed for a landscaping plan for the parking lot. Briefly
Fence and
summarized.
the landscaping, yes.
Briefly summarized. Myself, John Dewey, I'm voting no. Commissioner Strange,
I abstain because I don't think it's appropriate, even though I agree with it physically, once you've approved it and it's been handed off to the building inspector.
Commissioner Stewart,
I vote no because I do believe this is something that's not part of our purview here, and that it goes into the general materials and aesthetics that frankly we don't have a lot of control over the whole rest of the project, so why focus on just this? I do hope they make it nice for the community over there.
Any, next?
Commissioner Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Ellison,
Obviously, I vote yes. I believe that we do have a concern as a planning commission for impact on neighboring properties and streetscape.
Commissioner Gay,
I'm going to vote aye because I take Commissioner Stewart's point that we are not involved in the aesthetics of the rest of the property, but given this separate location and given its location on one of the prime streets of the city, I think the streetscape is an overriding consideration, so I vote in favor of it.
Commissioner Hunter,
I abstain. I'm concerned about the precedent for this. I think it's unfortunate that we didn't have the opportunity to really think about it in advance. And although I very much agree with the concern behind it, and I hope that it's something that can be worked out, I abstain with regard to this motion.
and Commissioner Bryan.
Chair votes no. I think we should spend our energy on other things.
Oh, did I miss?
Oh, Mr. Stockdale, hold on.
Mr. Stockdale.
I vote aye. I feel that this commission is required and should consider streetscape design. While I do worry about the process and the procedure, I vote aye and trust that the people would work reasonably together as Mr. Forsten has promised, and that whatever would be worked up would be something that would be mutually embraced.
Is that the full vote, Mr. Secretary? What do you have?
We have 4 votes supporting, 2 votes no, 2 abstentions.
So it does not pass.
Who did I?
Passes.
No, it does not pass.
Does not
pass. That's not a majority for, right?
It's
Wait a
one
minute.
short.
I missed one. Correcting myself, it's 3 noes.
So it fails.
It fails.
All right. That amendment fails.
Okay.
Is there anything else? Any other amendment?
I would like to propose one additional amendment based on our discussions. I would propose that the antenna on the proposed building not exceed the height that was shown on the final design plan. I think we agreed to that. I'm trusting my memory here, but I believe it was 60 feet. Is that correct?
No, I thought it was
No,
50.
50?
Mr.
50
Falat,
feet.
It
Could
starts
you-
at 50.
All right, where are your drawings?
I went,
I think it's 62 feet. Where, you have the
I
height?
thought it was 62. I think it's
it's
62.
60 or 62, I think. I just want to.
It is dimensioned somewhere.
Labeled embellishment.
No, it's not dimensioned. It's not, I don't see it dimensioned on this set of drawings.
But your amendment is that the height will be what is shown on
the final design
final
plan.
design plans.
Right.
Do you have a problem with that, Mr. Forsten?
I second it.
Whatever's on this graphically,
Final design plan, right.
we'll confirm it.
All right.
All right, we're just going to do
A roll call or just?
No, we're just doing a
just-
voice vote
yeah.
on that one.
Okay.
All right.
I
All-
second.
All those in favor of this amendment, please vote by saying, signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Chair votes aye. Okay, this amendment passes.
You abstain?
Yeah.
And one
can I-
abstention.
Can I add an amendment to the amendment?
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. Since we're dealing with technical issues here, and I raised an earlier issue on the antenna, that there's other technical problems. But in the drawings, it doesn't show just an antenna. It shows it as a flagpole. It shows it as an instrumented equipment on the flagpole, on the antenna. And if it's a flagpole, it doesn't meet the code. If it's an instrumented assembly, it doesn't meet the code. So I think I would offer a new condition. It has to be an antenna. You can't put a flagpole on it. You can't hang stuff off of it. You can't put instruments on it. It has to be an antenna.
Well, I think Mr. Forsten agreed to that, did he not?
Did you? I don't know, did you?
Your Honor, whatever the code requires, we're going to do. So if the code says it has to be an antenna, I don't think you need to make that a condition. That's what we're going to do.
What's the pleasure of the Planning Commission?
Okay. If that's not needed and they agree with it, then I'll withdraw it.
All right, sir, thank you. Anything else? Okay, what I'm going to propose is that we take a final vote on this site plan,
On the entire package.
on the entire package, the motion as amended and amended and amended.
Okay.
Is there a motion to approve this? Let me get a site, you already have the motion. Yeah, okay.
We just need a vote.
It's application number 1221-05 Belhaven Hotel. Is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
A roll call, any discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Stewart?
For reasons I stated earlier, I vote to approve.
Commissioner Ellison?
I vote to approve. I believe that as a planning commission, we have done everything that we need to do, given the state of the design. It's still in the design development phase. It's not in construction documentation. So I believe we have been satisfied that this is doable, and so therefore I vote yes.
Commissioner Stockdale?
I also vote yes, and I echo Mr. Ellison's comments about the depth of review that we're performing at this point. Thank you.
Myself, Commissioner Dewey, I'm voting in favor of this project. This project has been before the Planning Commission for a number of years. It has evolved significantly from its first iterations. At every step, it has come closer and closer, and now is, I believe, code compliant. It comports with the city's efforts to improve the scape of Rehoboth Avenue, and certainly Wilmington Avenue also needs redevelopment. So for those reasons, I'm in favor. Commissioner Hunter?
I vote yes. I second the reasons just stated by Commissioner Dewey. I also note that this application, which has had a lot of blood, sweat, and tears put into it by all of the participants, and I think it has evolved into far, far better application than it was initially, or even just 2 years ago. But I note also that it has given us the occasion to specifically require reports and reliance for us and for the city on independent experts, and my continued reliance on their expertise as well as ours, and the ongoing review of this as it goes forward, which I hope will be an extremely successful project for all of us. So for all of those reasons, I vote yes.
Commissioner Strange?
I'm compelled to vote no, and I do it with great pain. There are aspects, you're correct, we've seen multiple different versions of this over the last 6 years. None of them have ever been the same. There are geometric anomalies in the current plan that don't add up, that violate Euclidean geometry. There are certain things that are, has to be what's called a non-dominated set. These are dominated sets, creates material problems from our requirement to review things from the safety of the general welfare and safety of the public. Having said all that, I agree completely with the applicant's desire to build a hotel. Nothing wrong with that. And I agree with Mr. Forsten when he's made observations that if science can't say it's inappropriate, or if it doesn't violate the printed code, it defers to the landowner and the property owner. However, this plan, as presented, even the one today, has material errors from a Euclidean geometry standpoint, and it's unfortunate. But I think there's a rush to judgment here just to get it off our plate, and I think that's inappropriate. So I have painfully vote no. And I grant that most of what I look at is from an engineering perspective, but I also took an oath as an engineer. I'm now retired for many years. But I still can't vote yes, so it has to be a no.
Commissioner Davis?
I vote yes, based on the comments of my colleagues on the Planning Commission, who also voted yes, and their rationales for doing so.
Commissioner Gay?
I vote yes, for similar reasons. I think the reasons stated by my colleagues, especially Commissioner Hunter and Commissioner Dewey, were spot on, so I vote yes.
And Commissioner Bryan?
Yes, Chair votes yes. I have some more confidence now than previously with other plans and things that have come before us, because I think we are really lucky to have Corey Schinko here. He has stepped in as a building inspector and is doing a fabulous job. And what helps also is having the ICC studies that Mr. Schinko brought to us, that we have that independent third party review. And so I have much greater confidence now than I did previously that this would be a code compliant project and that everything would get done correctly. I vote yes. Godspeed. The motion passes. The site
The
plan
motion
is
passes.
approved.
We have 8 in favor, 1 opposed.
Right.
Yeah.
5, not 10.
5-minute break, please.
Thank you, members of the Planning Commission.
Ms. Womack, are we live? Oh, okay. Hold on one second, we have one member missing.
Are they going to start, or are Corey going to start?
Recording has started.
No, I know, but are the applicants going to start, or?
Public hearing of site plan review application number 0624-07 Atlantic Crown Hotel. And we have Carlton Savage here, I think, on behalf of the applicant. Is that correct?
Correct.
Do you intend on making any type of presentation today, or are you in simply a react to questions mode?
I was going to address the remaining 3 comments that we had.
Okay.
And also kind of just go over that letter that I submitted where the changes were made between what you saw previously and what you saw today. So those were pretty much the outstanding items in my mind. And if there's any questions, we'd be available to answer those.
You ready to go? Sure. Let's go.
Good afternoon. My name is Carlton Savage. I'm with Scaled Engineering. I'm a professional engineer. Address is 20246 Coastal Highway, Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. Today we have the public hearing for our final site plan for what is known as the Atlantic Crown Hotel, a 55-room hotel on Baltimore Avenue. There is a small cafe-style restaurant also associated with this hotel. We've been here on a few occasions now to discuss this plan, and we feel we are at the point where we have addressed all comments and are ready to move forward with this plan and the design effort. I will go over some of those changes between the last meeting and this meeting, just so everybody's aware of what we did. So last time we were here, there was a slight mess up with the 2 plans. The plans that you received, the hard copies, were the actual plans. The ones that were put online, I believe, were a previous copy. Not a whole lot of difference between them, but you did see the latest plans yourselves. This time we ensured that the plans all matched architecturally, civilly. Everything that you see now online and in front of you should match, and we are at that point. So one of the changes we made was to the underground parking. Related to the ADA spaces. I believe on the ICC review, they split up the ADA accessible spaces between the top deck and the bottom deck. So their calculation basically wanted 1 space on the top deck and 2 spaces below to meet their needs. The 1 space on the top is in this general area. That is a van accessible space. That is on the top deck and meets the needs for ADA. The underground parking has 2 ADA spaces directly across from the elevator, and now agrees that these are both van accessible spaces given the space requirements. So all 3 spaces now meet the ICC requirements. We moved the trash, not necessarily as a requirement of planning and zoning, but we had some discussions with the neighboring property owners. They were concerned with the trash location near an existing vent. So we found a better location that we felt, which would be in this location. We also talked about housekeeping needs. So the restaurant area is sort of where it says proposed Atlantic Crown Hotel. These doors will access this trash area. This trash area has a roof over top of it and is visually, can't see it from the street, as well as their properties is what we feel. So we hope that is a better location for everybody involved. We will have to, we did leave the area here as outdoor storage. Our intention is no trash. But we did kind of like it after we put it there as a little bit of extra storage in case we needed some maintenance needs or things, and that would screen it from view to keep that storage there. So the truck movements was a big discussion, mainly as to our loading space, as well as some of the movements on the street. What we did to accommodate that, we removed the island that was in this general area, which will now allow additional moving and movements, not only into the loading space, but they can maneuver much more freely into this back area. So it won't restrict any movements behind where a truck would come in, which will allow a truck to either back in or pull in directly and then maneuver into this space as needed. This space is limited. This wouldn't be your larger 52-foot bed trucks. This would be more local delivery, smaller vehicles, as I believe we just heard in the last application. To combat some of the needs for larger trucks, the way we see these trucks unload is basically they pull on the street, block parking spaces, and start unloading. We had the opportunity with this plan to reconfigure the striping on the street. This plan here is a net zero, so there's no loss of parking for the city, but it did allow us to combine things and allow a little bit additional on-street, but off the roadway, or off the drive line aisles, for a truck to maneuver and get out of the way and do some unloading on the street. This total distance is about it's exactly 101.5854 feet. And the new area is 45 feet of additional space in this location. So 52 feet truck would essentially fit in this space without blocking the entrance. If it needed a little blocking, this is a fairly large entrance. Most of these deliveries happen in the morning time when our guests do not use that entrance quite as frequently. So good amount of space here. We understand that things get blocked during deliveries, but this is a much better location and a much better option, I think, for the town as well as us. We also revised the transformer location a little bit. We had discussions about that. This transformer will be installed by Delmarva Power and meet all their requirements. The existing lines are under this location, so this is the ideal location on the street. We are showing a few landscape objects here that we will identify a little further in the design process. There are requirements about what we can put in front around this transformer. We'd like to dress it up as nice as possible. The dash box that you see here is the current easement that we have on the property, so that is the size they need, and it's much smaller than that. So this area is definitely sufficient for this transformer. And basically, the parking plan, there was a comment after we submitted the plans. This, I believe, is the one that was submitted. Yes, so there was just a typo or a lack of me changing this on the plans. The numbers here read 7 required, 7 proposed. I actually changed the spaces here to purple, which identify these spaces will be for Celebration Mall. The last one I added was the ADA accessible space. It was already here. We just identified it as a Celebration Mall space. After discussions with Corey, we noted that we probably will not need that space very frequently for Celebration Mall, as those residential units are not necessarily ADA units. However, so we wanted to use this as a neutral space for any real need for any handicap accessible space. So we will sign this as the plan shows, as a Celebration Mall space. We will have a agreement, which our attorney has drafted. Our attorney has drafted the agreements in draft form. I reviewed them yesterday. There's a couple minor changes, but I will submit those to Corey, assuming this project moves forward. He's more than welcome to share those and make sure you guys are happy with those agreements. But there will be a legal easement, cross-access easement, and parking easement from Celebration Mall, or between Celebration Mall and the Atlantic Sands. So that will be drafted, signed, and recorded in the Recorder of Deeds, along with our lot consolidation plan. So assuming we get approval, we would consolidate the lots. That would get recorded as well as the easement. Along with that easement, there is the loading space that was given variance from the Board of Adjustments. And we are also using some cross-access and the ramp to get underneath of the sands back into the Atlantic Crown property. That will also have a separate agreement that is drafted. You don't have a copy of it. That will go to the Building and Licensing Department, and your solicitor can review that as well. But that will also be recorded, basically forever mandating that an agreement for cross-access parking. There's a lot of terms of when it expires, so it stays with the property, so as long as the hotel exists. So those were the changes we made. Like I said, I think that addresses the 3 concerns that Corey had with this review.
All right. Mr. Schinko, anything to add as far as your report?
Only one. There was a question I posed in my report because I'm unsure of it. So this would be a question for you, the Planning Commission. Can a final approval be given for the site plan review with or without the perpetual easement? I wasn't sure as far as the building inspector goes. I know that they intend to do lot consolidation after this, and you would need it for that. But if this is something that you will need prior to making a vote, or if this is something that my office could receive after. That's all that I'd like to call out as far as my report. I think that Carlton hit on everything that we mentioned in this report.
I think what the applicant has said is that they will submit the perpetual easement agreement as part of the lot consolidation.
Correct, yes. So the lot consolidation, obviously, we can't consolidate the lots until we wouldn't consolidate the lots until we had approval.
Right.
We also wouldn't record easements that would mean nothing should the approval not be valid. So I would motion for you guys to put that as a contingent item on your condition on your approval.
Yeah. That sounds right. Anybody have any concerns about that?
No, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, thank you, sir. Is that it, Mr. Savage?
That's all I have.
Good.
Any questions up here?
Yeah, any questions from the planning commissioners?
I'd just like to make a comment. I want to thank Carlton and his team. We got 3 pages of detailed changes. Even the most minor of changes were fully called out. Other applicants have never done that, which would have been nice. So I'm really appreciative of that having been done. I think it helps us, it helps the public to really understand what's going on. I think you'd be congratulated for it.
Mike, I do have a question.
Yes.
For the building inspector. So I know, sort of out of turn, as a resident mentioned the noise level and fear about the noise level coming from the HVAC stuff. I'm reading our noise code as I was sitting here, so I presume that would be a matter of enforcement.
Correct. One of our code enforcement officers is certified in this, and he's actually already been up on at least one other commercial roof this summer that I know of to do that exact process with a HVAC unit.
Yeah, and that raises one thing. I wanted to say thank you. I know at the last meeting, there was questions about the trash. So I think it was wonderful that you worked with the community to make a more acceptable arrangement. And I'm hoping that if there's HVAC systems that accommodate your needs that are lower noise level, that you work with the residents to make that happen.
If you'd like, I can have Peyton, our architect, explain. We are actually putting these units in basically a suite on the roof, I believe is the plan. So you want to talk to that?
Well, no, we do have a mechanical suite on the roof, but the units themselves.
State your name for the record, please, sir.
Peyton Bridge with Davis Bone and Friedel.
Yes, sir.
So we do have the units on the roof. It's a VRF system, and there will be a DOAS. So they're smaller units. They're generally not very noisy compared to your typical RTUs people are used to hearing. So I don't think that's going to be too much of a concern. We do have them screened, but they're not actually enclosed in a suite.
All right. Is there anyone here from the public to address this application? Okay, please come forward, state your name, and regale us for 3 minutes or less.
Hello, my name's Michelle McTavish. I'm owner, along with my family, at 10, 12, and 14 Maryland Avenue. I want to thank you, the design team, for those changes that you made. It's really gives the neighbors some optimism that you'll be working with us. I do have a letter that is signed by residents of Maryland Avenue that abut the Atlantic Sands and the proposal. And I would like to read this letter so it can be entered into the minutes. This is a letter to the commission, to the Planning Commission. We, the homeowners along the south side of Maryland Avenue, numbers 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, and 24A, request that the commission require that prior to proceeding with the construction of the new Atlantic Crown Hotel, the owners mitigate the adverse impacts from the existing Atlantic Sands Hotel on our adjacent abutting residential properties. These adverse impacts include loud noise from rooftop HVAC units in excess of 80 decibels, glaring lights left on all night from parking structures, and noxious exhaust fumes from the ventilation shaft of the parking garage. In addition, the new Atlantic Crown Hotel must endeavor not to create any new adverse impacts. This request is consistent with the Rehoboth Beach CDP adopted in 2020. This is a quote from that, approved by the commissioners and signed by the governor. Because of the close proximity of many residential and commercial zones, avoidance of the adverse impact of commercial activity upon residential neighborhoods should be a high priority in city land use decisions. Thank you for your attention to this matter and helping to ensure that the quality in our community is preserved. Thank you very much.
Thank
and I'm going
you.
to submit this for the minutes of this
Yes, Ms. Womack.
Give it to Ms. Womack.
meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, whatever you wish, sir, whichever's more convenient.
Hello, my name's William Barnes, and I'm also from 10, 12, and 14 Maryland Avenue. The one thing that I would request or encourage is under your comprehensive development plan that talks about having a meeting between the community and the designers. I would encourage that we do that, form a discussion that we can talk about the issues at hand with the designers, because obviously they're willing to make the changes necessary. We appreciate that. So in essence, we don't want to set any precedents today that are going to cause problems with future development. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Please come forward.
Thank you. I'm James Feldman at 2 Virginia Avenue. I do not have a horse in this race, but as a resident in the city, I just wanted to say I think this hotel will be a great addition to our beachfront view. As a owner on the boardwalk as well, we are the face of Rehoboth Beach. So any improvement like this, I think, is well placed and improves the city immensely. My concern is that with the commercial space as designated along the boardwalk, that somehow the city be ensured that it doesn't disappear as what happened with Boardwalk Plaza. The character of the city is little shops and stores and restaurants on the boardwalk. When they go, you now have a barren northern boardwalk. There's no reason to even have the boardwalk north of Rehoboth Avenue in most cases. So I think it behooves you and the city to come up with a requirement that the commercial space as put on the plan stays as a commercial space and not be absorbed in for other hotel uses. I think it's something that everything on the boardwalk needs to be maintained. But improvements are great, and that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Seeing no one else, I close the public hearing.
I do have a concern about the lighting, and I appreciate the fact that the applicants have worked with the neighbors and made some of the plans, but it does bring up the question about lights. And whether or not, and I seek everybody's guidance for this, whether or not or whether the applicant is already putting restrictions on the back, the lighting in the back so as not to shine on the new properties, or if we should put that on as a condition, or what.
I was going to say, to your point, we already have that for residential properties. And I don't know where the crossover, because I didn't look at that on the commercial side. But we already have restrictions on lights from the residential side, and I would assume that they would apply to the commercial side.
Not if it's not written that way, they don't.
Beg your pardon?
Not if it's not written that way, they don't. I mean,
Well,
so.
that's what I'm just saying. Usually I'm prepared, but I wasn't prepared for
Yeah,
that question.
I don't know.
But I think that does need, it should be looked at in general.
Yeah.
But I think it doesn't impact moving forward with this application.
No, I'm just wondering if we should add that.
Add something like
as a
that.
condition.
In case there isn't anything in the code.
Right, yeah, I mean, I'm reminded of the school, when the school got approved, for
Right.
instance, there was a condition about, a very
the
specific
lights.
condition about the lighting
Yep.
in that neighborhood. So I guess I don't know if, Carlton, do you
Well, I
want to
think
say what you all are
technically-
prepared to do?
Well,
in
it's
that?
technically possible. I mean, in general, as an engineer, it's technically possible. I'll leave it at that and allow you to address it.
So it's very common to do full cutoff lighting and face the lights, on the backside of the property towards the building. There will have, you'll have your typical exit lights and things that are on the doors. They're a little harder to control, but they're very minimal. I will say that, some of the LED lighting and things we're seeing today actually, I think, are worse. They have to be, they're lower wattage, better for energy, but to get that energy out, it has to project. But we would definitely, it may even be on this plan, definitely would have full cutoff lighting, which means there'll be shields on the back side so that the light would be projected towards the building. We would never put a light shining into the back of someone's property. That just makes absolutely no sense. So I could look here and see if it actually has that note, but we have no opposition of doing that lighting schematic so that is full cutoff and everything is thrown towards the building away from the residential.
I think you just wrote the description.
Yeah, we can probably, should I
Let's see if
add?
it's in the plan already, though.
Yeah, I don't know that we showed the actual lights, but I don't. I'm not 100% sure that the requirements required the lights to be shown. It is a design component, but we would absolutely take that as a condition. I don't see the lights on here, but what I'm envisioning is there will be lights along this back side of the property. There will be shields on the back sides of those lights, and which forces all the light down and towards away from the residential properties. Anything you would put over here, you would make sure that did not project further than the rear of the property. There's always a little bit of light. Obviously, it's a building, so it won't be dark sky, but it will be full cutoff lighting projecting towards the building.
I have a question for the applicant. So given that the residents sort of on Maryland Avenue raised the issue of the existing lights on the existing structure, and this will be consolidated, do you have a willingness to work with them potentially, maybe not as a condition of this, to modify the lighting on the existing building?
Absolutely. It's the first I'm hearing it's an issue. So there's always a willingness to be good neighbors and to try to work things out. So I don't know what the lighting concern is, but if there is lighting concerns and it can be corrected, why not?
Right answer.
All right, anyone else?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Please come forward.
That's too high.
Just an easy question for you. My
Speak
name
into
is
the
Elaine-
microphone, ma'am.
My name
please.
is Elaine Hagan.
I don't
I'm at
think that's
I think it's
20
off.
Elaine Hagan.
Thank you. My name is Elaine Hagan. I'm at 24A Maryland, directly behind the hotel. I'm curious, and this may have already been addressed, but will there be any fencing behind the hotel for, will there be fencing behind the hotel? Or will our properties be open to the hotel?
There's a very clear note on the plan, and I'll read it just so you're aware of what we did place on the plan. Existing fence and screen to remain or be replaced along the entire rear property line to meet the requirement for screening to shield lot from adjacent residential district. A 5-foot rear yard has been provided between the residential and the commercial district. So
That answers my question.
and to be honest with you, some of those fences are kind of back and forth. I would love to see a brand new fence go along the whole thing, right on the property line. Everybody's happy with. So that would be the plan.
Our fence that's there now was put up by Eden, and it is pretty rotted.
Yeah.
So a new fence would be appreciated.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
It makes it difficult to remove fences that are there. But if everybody agrees, we can replace that fence and have a nice uniform fence along everything.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Do I have a motion?
Oh, I guess, just one comment, because the issue has been brought up about odors, and Carlton has responded that they're doing something, but going back to the last meeting when the residents mentioned that, and it caused concern for me because it sounded as if they weren't aware of what their options were, even though they were in an R area next to a C area. Both in our codes, there's several codes that address that. You have legal rights, and there's another one, which I don't know if anyone's even aware of, that are under DENREC regulations. And so if you have odors coming onto your property, it doesn't matter what the source is. If it exceeds certain levels, doesn't matter if it's from a C area, from an R area, it can't allow it to be continue, and there's serious fines associated with it. So I just wanted to mention that there are options as we go forward, but I think Carlton's has demonstrated that in this particular case, we have a hotel owner who is going to be responsive to your needs, and I think that's very appropriate.
Thank you. I have closed the public hearing. No one else to speak, is that correct? All right, do I have a motion on this pending application?
I move, oh,
Go ahead, please.
okay. I move to approve this application.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, I have some
Yeah, just-
amendments.
Sure.
Look at this.
Okay.
Over everything. All right. Prior to the issuance of any building permit for the proposed project, the applicant should obtain all necessary permits and approvals under applicable federal, state, and city laws and regulations, including but not limited to the following. A, additional approvals under federal law, applicable federal or international building laws or regulations, applicable federal ADA requirements, federal stormwater runoff or point source discharge laws and regulations, and any applicable FEMA laws or regulations. B, additional approvals under state law would be applicable state law building regulations, state stormwater runoff or point source discharge laws, any DNREC approval required, any additional state fire marshal approvals or conditions, any DELDOT approval regarding the project's impact on vehicular or pedestrian traffic, and any additional preliminary land use service plus review and approval by the Office of State Planning Coordination. C, additional approvals under city law, including City Code Chapter 102, Building Instruction, City Code Chapter 215, Restaurants, City Code Chapter 220, Sewer and Water, City Code Chapter 270, Article 7 for signs, City Code Chapter 232, Streets and Sidewalks, City Code 194, Parking, and 7, the maximum safe number of inhabitants per proposed hotel room. Number 2, pursuant to the Journal of the National Academy of Forensic Engineers, as provided to the applicant by the building inspector, applicants shall ensure delivery trucks are able to maneuver into the off-site loading dock area with sufficient space to enter and exit the area. 3, lot consolidation. Prior to the issuance of any building permit for the proposed project, applicants shall submit an appropriate application to and obtain approval from the Rehoboth Beach Planning Commission to consolidate the lots as may be necessary pursuant to City Code Chapter 236. Number 4, applicant shall create an appropriate easement and right-of-use agreement to ensure guest access to the parking garage. Number 5, applicant shall ensure that there are 8 available parking spaces for the residential and office portions of Celebration Mall, and that their plans be reflected to include this. Number 6, stormwater. Comments, requirements regarding stormwater connection shall be by the building official, city engineer, director of public works, Sussex Conservation District, and any other agencies as deemed appropriate. Number 8, electric. Provided by Delmarva Power, development must comply with all applicable regulations and policies within the building code and construction requirements of Delmarva Power. I'm going to add another, number 9, that the applicant agrees to shield lighting away from adjacent residential properties by use of full cutoff lighting. Number 9, telecommunications provided by Verizon, Comcast, and AT&T. Development must comply with all applicable regulations and policies within the building code and construction requirements of the appropriate provider. 10, the screened outdoor storage across the parking lot opposite the east stairwall near the existing parking garage ventilation may not be used to store trash. And finally, number 11, signage will be placed on the building to inform trucks of the 10-foot, 10-inch clearance restriction.
Pardon me if I missed it. Do we need to put any reference in there about the perpetual easement as part of it? Okay.
I mean,
as long as it's
I
there.
talked about the easement and right-of-use agreement to ensure guest access to the parking garage. Is there a second easement? Is there another easement besides that one?
So there's a total of 2 easements that will be prepared. One will be between Celebration Mall
Right.
and the Sands to designate those spaces, as well as give them cross-access easement to the spaces. Honestly, these are all going to kind of work together, so the agreement is fairly open to allow access through the entrance, through the parking area. We're not trying to find people if they get off the path.
Right.
There's also an easement, cross-access easement
Right.
for between the Atlantic Crown and the Atlantic Sands. That easement will also talk about some things that really aren't in your purview, but we've discussed them about trash, and if we share trash or anything like that, that will be in that easement as well. So a cross-access and almost like a utilitarian easement between the 2 properties, since they will work together on certain things. So that there are 2 total easements, cross-access basically cross-access for both.
How do you want, Bill, how do you want to revise the part about easements? Because he's talking about not only access, but
You can just add a condition for the cross-access easement between the Atlantic Sands and the Atlantic.
okay. Well, in that case, I take that amendment.
So that is an amendment to
Yes.
your amendment?
Second.
All right, we have a motion to amend the amendment and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of amending the amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Chair votes aye. The amendment to the amendment passes.
Okay, so now we're discussion.
All right, any discussion on the entire plan as amended? Do I have a motion?
We have yes, we have one on the
I
table.
think we're just taking a roll call vote.
Yeah, I sort of get confused when we amend to amend.
We do too.
All right. Could I please have a roll call vote on the motion to approve application number 0624-07 Atlantic Crown Hotel?
Okay. A roll call vote regarding the aforementioned motion. Commissioner Ellison?
I vote yes, and I want to applaud the entire team, Carlton and the rest. This has been a very smooth process and a very cooperative one, and I just wish every process we have would go this nicely, but congratulations to them.
Commissioner Stockdale?
I too vote to approve. I agree with Mr. Ellison's remarks about the smooth and harmonious working relationship we have had with you. I also want to compliment you for working with the neighbors like you did. I think that's something that we would like to see a lot more of. So I do vote to approve. I think we have a good project, and it is clearly code compliant.
Commissioner Davis?
I also vote yes for the reasons that Commissioner Stockdale and Ellison put forth. And again, you're going to get tired, I'm sure, of all of us saying the same thing. But having the level of cooperation and concern about the immediate neighbors and the impacts of this project, potential impacts of the project on the immediate neighbors, and to have an applicant who is so willing to both listen to and then adjust the plans to address the neighbors' concerns has been very refreshing. And like everybody else, more would be better from other folks.
Commissioner Stewart?
I'm not going to pile on, but really, this has been terrific, and thank you, and I think it's a nice project, so I vote yes.
Commissioner Strange?
I vote yes for all the reasons that my associates have said, and I think anytime you're developing something in a commercial district that is absolutely across from an R district, it creates some real challenges. And even though it means that those folks who live in an R district, it's what's called moral hazard, you hope that your neighbor in the C district is something you can live with, but that's what our obligation is, to make sure that it meets all the codes so it can be complementary and a smooth transition as best can be possible. And I think the applicant in this case has done a yeoman's job, and I congratulate them as well. Thank you.
Commissioner Hunter?
I vote yes. I have absolutely nothing to add to the previous comments by my fellow commissioners, but they have stated the reasons very well.
Myself, Commissioner Dew, I'm voting in favor of this proposal because of the impact, the positive impact that it will bring to Baltimore Avenue. That ocean block has definitively been in need of rehabilitation and redevelopment. It will be a nice addition to the various hotels that are available here in the city. And I will second everyone else's comments, particularly around the collaborative and productive nature of these conversations. It's all been very much appreciated. Commissioner Gay?
And I also vote aye, and I concur with everything my colleagues have said.
And Commissioner Bryan?
Yes, chair votes aye. Thank you, and I'll say it again, thank you. Motion passes. Site plan is approved, number 0624-07 Atlantic Crown Hotel. Thank you, sir.
Okay, and do we have anything, any report?
We need to do approval of minutes.
We don't have any, do we?
Oh, we did, well, the agenda says approval of minutes. Oh, okay, never mind.
We don't have any, right?
Approval of minutes.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Do you have anything for us?
Did he gavel?
He didn't know, not yet, because we have to know if there's any building licensing report or any applications. Well, two things. One, building licensing. Is there anything?
Well, I'll just say that today we officially received an application from the public library.
Oh, great.
It doesn't meet the cutoff for, the 30-day cutoff for August, so most likely it will be on the September agenda. Next month, likely 1001 Scarborough, lot separation, 517 Stokely Street extended, a lot consolidation, and then Nick and I will be prepared to give you a presentation on our work so far with Chapter 236, and we can have some discussions on that then.
All right.
That's all.
Ms. Hunter, I believe you had an
Yeah.
observation.
Yes. When I voted yes on the Belhaven proposal, I noted my reliance on getting reports from independent contractors. And I did not realize at the time that the language in the resolution, the motion we voted on today, on those points was different from the language of the resolution that we had adopted in 2024 on those points. And so my concern is that, and there's been some colloquy among various ones of us about the issue of the nature of the reporting that will happen between the different parts of the city, that is, between us, the Planning Commission, and between building and licensing. And I bring this, well, I note that this has nothing to do with the obligations of the applicant. And so this has nothing to do with the approval of Belhaven going forward. However, I am very concerned about that issue, as I said before. And what I want to say now is that I would like for the Planning Commission to meet with the city and to accelerate the process of working out a plan for public notification of when those reports come in. And in addition to the posting of the reports, which everyone agrees will happen since they are public documents. But I think that's important. We're now moving forward with Belhaven. That's a very good thing. And so at some point, those independent reports will start to come in, and this will be a concrete issue. So I would like us to get in advance of that, and I'd also like us to consider when there are requirements in the future for independent consultant reports, give more consideration than I feel like I was able to give it today, given the rush with the new language as between the old language that we used and the language that we use today.
Okay. Anything else? It's been quite a day. We're adjourned.